Record. Whoa! Reaction.
Wow, real Julian
The
in
Real
the
real
me
flesh.
Julian, please stood
in
up.
the flesh, live
Is that
in
a
person.
is that a Honda Civic?
It is not.
That I
It's
was
an
gonna say, man,
office
the Honda
chair
Civic's
with
got
a.
room here, man. Like they
Yeah,
got a whole thing going on.
love the seats in the new Civic, man.
Yeah, they really expanded.
They look real good, man. I like it a lot. Um, I love getting that reaction on cam. That's
I
what
know. I did not expect that.
I
that
thought it
was a
was gonna be
surprise.
another dial-in, but no, surprise for you guys.
Just in case y'all missed episode one, Julian called in from on the road. Where were you? The Bermuda Triangle, Conroe,
I
Houston,
was
Katy.
just kind of in the middle of nowhere in between Houston and Conroe,
And
You
he
only,
had the best audio, like
yeah.
from his car.
yeah.
Best audio of the three of us.
Just off the phone, doing the thing,
I love
making
it.
it happen.
The Honda Studio is what we call it. Um, all right, so going straight into it here, guys. Welcome back to Building with the Boys, the podcast where each season we build a new business idea from scratch and try to take it from idea to full-blown cash cow. And we take you along the ride, showing you all behind the scenes. Win or lose, you're with us every step of the way. This season, the idea is LFG. It's a social fitness app designed to connect people through movement, no matter how they move. So, welcome back, guys.
Yeah, man.
How's everyone doing?
Excited. Yeah, pretty good. Just staying busy with work and everything, but otherwise pretty good.
Yeah, yeah. Same over here. Good, short week. We had the Monday off, which is great. Or, what was it? Memorial Day. As a veteran, I should I actually
You
did
should know
watch
that one.
like on
Yeah.
Memorial Day, I watched probably like two like war movies. I was like, all right, I'm gonna remember it the best way I can. So had a good Memorial Day. So short week, which is great, but you have to just get as much work done in a short amount of time.
hmm
But it's been good, not too bad over here. And but the whole, week I was excited to kind of talk to y'all again, just like hanging out with y'all guys and talking and the more I talk about like LFG and think about it, like I think the more I'm excited to just, progress in the season and kind of build this as we go. Because as we go, it kind of gets more exciting. I definitely really appreciate Julian coming on and helping us out because I think he definitely brings a really fun perspective. And I think it does kind of help that, we talked about it late last season, like, hey man, maybe we need to bring on a third. And I think Julian came on and brings a lot of really good energy ideas and also the best audio in the game. So it's been a lot of fun. So I was looking all that to say, great week. Ending it with an espresso martini, which is always good.
What?
Yeah, boy.
I like that.
Friday afternoon, getting started.
There you go, man. There you go. And
The
so,
older I
I was excited to
get,
talk to y'all.
the older I get, the more I pre-game social events with
Oh, you have
caffeine.
to.
Not even like any booze. Just let me get some coffee going.
Oh,
Gotta
yeah.
keep
So
yourself
like
Clock
awake,
into
keep you
this.
going.
About to clock into this social engagement.
you just go raw dog. You raw
Yeah.
dog the events. Just like
Oh, those are the
walk,
worst. Yeah.
walking in, just like no social lubricants.
You mentioned watching war movies. What's your favorite one?
You know what? Honestly, my favorite war movie of all time is called The Longest Day. It's a black and white movie. So that's how old it is about the D-Day invasion. And what I love about it is like there's like this one old like I don't know, he's like an old Scottish like officer. He probably was in World War One, and he was on like the beaches of in the movie he was on the beaches of like Normandy or something, on the the D-Day invasion. And there was this tank that was like stuck in the sand and it wasn't moving. And this young buck was like, I can't get it to move. And the old guy was like, just give it a little hit. And he like had his fucking cane and he fucking knocked it. And then the tank starts moving again. And I was like, that's awesome. But The Longest Day is probably my favorite war movie. It's about the D-Day invasion, black and white, a must have. I don't even know if it's streaming anywhere, but that's definitely my favorite. I need to get the DVD
Streaming
though.
on VHS somewhere.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, I'm gonna check if it's streaming anywhere, but I'm not sure if it's. But I watched Black Hawk Down. I watched a documentary on Netflix, and then I watched Black Hawk Down. Dude, have you seen Black Hawk Down? It's the who's who of studs, dude. Okay, Ed Hardy is in there. Or Tom Hardy. Which one? The clothes, not the
The guy with
clothes
the
guy.
shirts or Bane?
Bane. I always mix it up. So he's in there. Orlando Bloom, Christian Bale, Obi-Wan Kenobi younger, like, like there's some hitters, like young hitters in that movie. It's funny because not funny, but like I was like, oh man, Orlando Bloom's in here. I've watched all the Lord of the Rings extended editions, and I was like, oh, Orlando Bloom, he's gonna be a great character. He was in there for like 2 seconds, but I was like, oh man. But anyways, the who's who of like heartthrobs is in
Yeah, there's some the notable misses on your list were Eric Bana,
Eric Bana.
one of
Sorry,
the
yeah,
Hulks, Josh Hartnett.
Josh, yeah,
Uh, let's see, Jason Isaacs. He's one of the new guys from what's that show on HBO about they go on vacation and someone dies? White Lotus.
White Lotus.
Oh, yeah.
He's the guy having the worst day ever. If you watch White Lotus. Ty Burrell, the guy from Modern Family, the dad.
Yes. So I didn't know Phil Dunphy was in there because I've seen that movie probably 4 times, maybe five. And I was like, whoa, like I heard his voice and I was like, there's no way that's
Yeah,
Phil Dunphy. And he was in there. Oh, also Jeremy Piven, Ari
Jeremy
Gold from
Piven.
Entourage.
Yeah, and from Game of Thrones, the guy who lost his hand, the swords guy,
Stannis
the swordsman,
Baratheon?
Nikolai
Who
Nikolaj
lost his hand?
Jamie
Oh
Lannister.
yes, yes,
Jamie
sorry. That
Lannister.
Yeah.
was
That
that was
guy. There you
another one
go.
for me. I was like, whoa, that's young Jamie Lannister. He was a Delta Force guy. So I
Yeah,
watched the documentary. It's a
a lot of
three-parter,
guys.
and then I watched the movie. So it was interesting to kind of see the back and forth because they do go between like the documentary does a good job of like going through the guys as well. So it was kind of like I watched both of them. So that was my Memorial Day weekend, like throwback. But
Julian, are
That's
you
fun.
a genre movie guy, like war movies, mafia movies,
Uh,
anything like that?
I'm more like action or comedy, or probably my two that I gravitate towards the most.
All right. Got a good
Yeah.
action movie recommendation? Have you seen the new
Ooh,
Mission Impossible?
I haven't. No, I've only seen maybe one of those in the series because they're on like number 6 or 7 now, right?
Yeah, they're pretty far, and apparently this one is the most
the last
profitable one.
one, I think that
Yeah.
it got beaten
No.
by Lilo and Stitch too. Like last Mission
Oh,
Impossible.
that was the headline.
That was
They
pretty
were
rough,
poised to be number one, and then
That's
Lilo and Stitch came up.
brutal.
Yeah, that's brutal. But it was also like the highest box office Memorial Day weekend domestically for like ever or whatever. So it was a
Wow.
tough fight. But I was like, are people really watching Lilo and Stitch that hard? Like they have to live action it, and people were like, yes.
Honestly, I'd
It's
be in that camp. I'd be gravitating towards Lilo and Stitch. It's just a
it's
throwback from
funny.
childhood.
It's funny because apparently after Snow White and how much hate that actress got,
Oh God.
Mm.
and all that, like Disney was scrapping all their plans to do any more live action
Yeah.
movies, but then Lilo and Stitch happened, and they're like, well, maybe we can keep going.
Let's just make them less hateable. Like let's,
Yeah.
let's
And you know who you know that whole phrase about like, blank walk so blank can run. Remember Sonic when the Sonic movie
oh,
first came
that
out
was
and everyone was hating on the
Oh,
CGI and they revolted
yeah.
and then they changed it. It seems like the Stitch community had the same kind of feel with the first versions, the first draft of Stitch, and then they went and created like a more perfect version.
I wonder if like they do that on purpose now. Like get like the scrappy version out, figure out if people like it, hate it.
Get the outrage
The
traction.
rage
Yeah.
bait. Yeah.
I
Yeah.
think that's what as a Game of Thrones fans because you brought it up. I think that's what George R. R. Martin's doing. Like he saw like the backlash that like the last season have a Game of Thrones, so now he's like, oh man, I need to write something else. Like I need to like pivot.
Yeah.
Will he ever get it done? I don't know. I have this theory that he's waiting till he passes away, and upon his death, the book will be released because he doesn't
Mm.
want to see like the backlash of it. But yeah, at this point, like. I think he just kind of was using it as like a test, which I get, man. When you're trying to be scrappy and growth, like you kind of get that V1 out there, you get that MVP out there, you see how people are feeling, and then you take that feedback and you kind of pivot and kind of make it maybe something that makes more sense for the community now. But at this point, that guy's living his best life, doing his thing. So maybe we won't get anything. I don't know.
Oh yeah. He's big
So
chillin'.
what we're so what we're gonna do on today's show is we're gonna start with a headline. We're gonna take a headline from this week and talk about that for 2 seconds, and then we'll talk about last episode, anything we missed, because there was a few things, we always get cut off, so there's always something we miss. So just want to make sure we wrap that idea up, and then we'll talk about this week, what our goal objective was, and whether we felt we succeeded or failed, and then talk about what our goal is for next week.
Sure. Sounds
So
good.
I'm gonna do my first ever headline in
Ooh,
question format. So here we go. Here's my question. I'm looking at a list of the 100 most trusted brands in America. I'm gonna give y'all 30 seconds. Y'all just rapid fire. How many of the top 10 can y'all name? Most trusted companies in America.
most
Oh
trusted
man.
companies in
All
America.
right.
I love this. I wasn't prepared.
Unofficial 30 seconds. Yeah, I know. And I didn't put it in the notes either. That way y'all
You
wouldn't get
did
a heads
not.
up.
Sneaky,
Okay. 30 seconds to start naming them. I'll go ding if y'all get one right.
sneaky moderator.
All right. Ready, set, go.
Oh,
Wait, you're asking us what they are?
Yep. Try to
Oh,
like
I'm
so
gonna
list.
fire off a
Try
say
to.
list.
I'm gonna
Try,
say Ford. I'm gonna just rattle off the blue chips.
eh.
Ford, no. Okay, Coca-Cola.
Nope.
Oh man. It's then I think
Pepsi,
Nucor stuff like Apple.
Mm.
Um, then I think
Ding on Apple.
what
Number
are you
10.
thinking, Julian? We got a ding
other
there.
car brands, Tesla, but that's been tanking
Eh.
recently.
They got
Yeah.
Eh.
beat.
No cars that are getting keyed
No
currently.
autos.
We're
Any
on
healthcare
the
on
right track
there?
with Apple. All right. What's the
Apple ding.
Nvidia? No one like people don't know the name Nvidia, I guess, as much. But I'm just going.
Ding ding ding. Number 8.
Oh,
Nvidia.
really? Okay. So it's a blue chip like biggest market cap because the top three are Apple, Nvidia, what's the third? Microsoft, and
Ding
then
ding ding.
all
Number
right,
3.
cool. So that's
Microsoft.
what
Microsoft
it
on
is
there.
probably.
Okay.
And then you're going down. What's the fourth one? Google.
So
Then you hit the Googles and the Fangs. So then you hit like Fang stocks, right?
like Netflix,
Netflix was a
Amazon,
good one. What
No
does FANG stand
Netflix.
for again? Like Facebook, Meta,
Facebook, Amazon, Apple,
Eh.
Amazon,
Netflix, Google,
Apple. No,
All right.
Amazon's on there, right?
Time
Amazon.
time's
Yeah.
up. Time is up, but let me go
I,
ahead
I
and
was
read these
surprised
to
we did
you.
as well.
Oh man.
Hey,
Yeah,
where's the
y'all got
celebration
3. Y'all
emoji?
got
Hold on.
Nvidia, y'all got Microsoft, and you got Apple. All right, going
Okay.
down for number 10, it's oh nice. Going down for number 10, it's Apple, UPS,
Oh,
Nvidia,
Mm.
Emma's what's it called? Arizona Beverage Company,
okay, that should be
Oh, the
Samsung,
yes.
Arizona iced tea.
Samsung, Costco, Toyota, Microsoft, Patagonia, Trader Joe's at number 1.
Samsung is Korean though,
Mm.
right? So that's an interesting,
Yeah,
like, right?
Toyota too is not American,
Yeah.
so
Interesting. Okay. Now, I
There you
mean, I
go.
like it though. That makes a lot of sense. All of those to me like speak, yes, like speak to that, you know? Um, like dependability, right? Was like the like
There
trusted.
you go. And let me clarify what I meant by that. The headline was the 2025 Axios Harris Poll 100 Reputation Rankings.
mm. Okay.
Yeah, based on 20 years of research. And then for fun, the bottom 5: Spirit Airlines, the Trump Organization, X,
Oh,
Meta, Wells Fargo, Tesla. Bottom 5 right there.
Tesla, really?
Yeah, they've been getting hit recently.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah, well now that Elon's going back, maybe like that changes or makes it worse. I don't know. Like,
Yeah, it's kind of hit or miss
So
there.
so
yeah.
when we make a company, when we have an idea, maybe make it more like Trader Joe's and a little less Spirit Airlines.
Mhm.
So
That's
there's
our
just
North
something to
Star
that.
right there.
There you go. Exactly.
I like it. I like
Um,
it a lot.
let's talk about last week's episode. So last week's episode, we introduced the new baby to the world, Julian. No, we introduced LFG to the world.
Let's go.
Um, it's an app where we kind of standardize physical activity across all sports, all activities to make a metric. Um, Calories burned would be the metric, and then that way you can kind of compare your workout with other friends' workout, people in your community, maybe people not in your community, but you can kind of check out what their workouts are. Um, that's the gist of it, and then it's just an excuse to challenge your friend or get involved in different workouts to kind of just check the rigor of your workout. Um, just more data, more engagement, and an app that would have a lot of gamification qualities that would lead you to want to be more healthy because it's just fun data to get a hold of, and it makes it more interactive. Things we didn't cover, or we got cut off, the logo for the idea, um, calling it a fitness club because I know we wanted to do like a proof of concept club to kind of see how this app can be used in a certain way to kind of start one individual club and go from there. We kind of wanted to go get away from saying it's just a one sport club and more of a fitness club. And then we the code name has always been LFG, looking for group, but coming up with an actual name has been something that we're working on. And then the social media strategy, that's something we kind of left out completely. But this season, podcast and LFG, we were going to try something different for engagement and for traction, just trying to get those, nowadays there's no brick and mortar, what's it called, foot traffic, but we're trying to generate, you can generate that online or through social media. So kind of talking about our strategy there. Where do you want to start with that, Roger?
I can kind of share. I know I got cut off, but I can share my screen real quick about like the
Yeah.
Yeah.
images. So I think one thing that we talked about this season was like, what are we building? And I think it's kind of two things, right? We want to build a community, a podcast, but in that we want to build like, I guess communication and like a two-way dialogue between us and our community. So I think it's kind of building two things at once. It's kind of building, yeah, building with the boys, which I'll just kind of share. Can you see my screen?
It's
Yeah,
pulling
now
up.
we can.
Yeah, there we
All
go.
right. Yeah, this was, and honestly, like this was just in Sora. You can see it in the tab up here. Was putting
Yeah.
in like, hey, like this is what I want to do. So I think this is part of what we want to do is kind of use AI not just for, I think two ways, using it to build the product, but also, using it for our kind of like Xing us, so like it 10Xs us as founders or, whatever. So maybe now it takes longer or we don't need as we don't need as much, help outside of what we can do with the tools that we have. So I think this is a perfect example. Give AI like, hey, here's the thing I want to build. Here's the things I want to hit. Here's the tones I want to hit. Act as a marketing expert or an image expert, and give us something that makes sense across these lines. And I thought that building with like this image, I think putting that prompt in was like a fun one that it gave us, right? Of like what we want to do, how we want to do it. We're building with boys. We're just getting into it, right? And we've already using this logo across different. I think we're already using it like on YouTube. I sent it to you for some other stuff. So I think that's one way to use it, right? As a way to kind of like help us enhance ourselves, right? Otherwise, this would have take longer to build. We would have to figure out like in Canva how to build it, which is still possible, but I think this helps us there. So that's the one thing, right? Like building like the show in general, the community and the socials and everything that goes with that. But also in that, for each season, we're building a new thing, right? Or building that process for it. So kind of like, and I know that we didn't decide on a name, but one of the names I really liked was kind of like yours, like the one that when we did the run club, the first meetup, where you were kind of just like, anti-social fitness club. I think the more we think about like what this app is going to be, maybe this doesn't make as much sense, but I really liked it. And I put that into there like, hey, give me some like cool, like Metallica style font with this. And this is the kind of feel we want to do. And I thought it gave us a really good, like, mock-up of that. Now I think we're still figuring out what the actual name is. But I do think so. Also, one thing I'll shout out: there's this book I've been reading. It's called Positioning. It's a super old book. This is from the 1970s. But when you actually talked about kind of like the top 10 trusted brands, this book actually came. I just finished it last night. This thing came to mind because companies do like try really hard to kind of get that position in our minds, so I want to kind of build some of these principles into what we're building here. I think this book is dated. I think it's from the 1970s, right? But it's still like a marketing classic and it's still kind of interesting. One of the big things about this book, two things, is one is about like the battle for the mind, and that's kind of what it has in there. The mind of the customer, right? So if you're not first, you're last almost. If you're not the Cokes, you're the anti-Coke. And that's kind of how you position yourself. But one thing this gave me a really big appreciation for is the name. I always look at names, I'm like, a name is a name. But this really like hits home. Like, no, like your name is really important. So this made me a little bit more cautious or not apprehensive, but like I think we need to put I really want to. I'm struggling to find a name for what we're building. That scares me a little bit, and we'll get to that. But I think that this book especially like brought home like, man, let's really put some emphasis on what this product is going to be, and hopefully the name comes from that. But it was an interesting book, and I thought that you bringing up kind of the battle for the mind, almost like in terms of like what we look at it as in the United States as like a dependable company makes sense because that's exactly what these companies are doing. That playbook. Anyways, I got this book from a different book about the Nvidia way, which is about the rise of Nvidia. They started in a coffee store. They started at Denny's, dude. They started Nvidia basically out of a Denny's. Like that is amazing, and I love that. But this book was referenced in that book, so I bought this one. Anyways, that's kind of that was like the long way to say like using AI to build logos. Right. So I think that was one thing I wanted to show the last one. I love that I got cut off on it though. That's what I strive to do.
There you go. Yeah, no, to speak to
Yeah.
the Sora um logo, like no, that's great because those bottlenecks we have in our process because we're not, graphic designers or logo makers,
Oh, not at
we can
all.
now just have a placeholder and just keep it moving. And then, whether it's something we need to change or keep or build off of in the future, we have that flexibility instead of just being stuck on that step.
I love, I'm now thinking about it. I love the idea is we make a really good prompt, right? We put it in different AIs, whether it's Gemini, whether it's Chatty, or whether it's DeepSeek or something. Put that in and just get a bunch of ideas for names, right? We put as good of a prompt as we want. like, hey, this is what we are, this is what we're about, this is what we're making, this is what we want to like focus on, right? And then these are names that we like, and then maybe just like seeing what it gives us. I mean, if we're stuck at a step, to your point, maybe we kind of use AI to get unstuck, if that makes sense. Because I would hate to spin the wheels too much on this, but I think it is important for now into the future. Not to say you can't rebrand, but that's hard in itself. So I think that might be a fun exercise. Like let's just do it and see what happens. We see what we get out of it.
Yeah, no,
Uh,
absolutely. I think the possibilities are endless with it.
Yeah,
You just feed it a prompt and have it spit out 100 different ideas. You just
let's
kind of
see.
rattle it off in 20 minutes and just kind of pick the best one.
Yeah.
We're not stuck spinning our wheels all weekend or all week or whatever, just on one thing.
Yeah, it's interesting because I think that like a lot of people say like what AI doesn't give you is creativity, but I find it to be very creative, or maybe I'm just very uncreative, but like I find that like it just I guess the volume of which you're able to spit stuff out of there, it maybe jumpstarts your creativity in a way. Like maybe there's names that we get that are like adjacent to what we get, but like different. So, people say AI isn't creative. I would say that just like the sheer number of what you can get out of it in itself makes you more creative.
and
Absolutely.
to speak to your the book, what is it, Battle for Your Mind?
Yeah, positioning the battle for the mind again from the 1970s, but still like interesting.
Yeah, even though just going off of that, I think what's in a name is really important as well. But
Yep.
also, what are we naming here? Because we have to kind of agree on that. Is like, is this software? Is this more about the community? Is this more about fitness? Because the name's going to reveal what we're leaning towards as being the thing that this is at its core. So I think, when we cross that bridge, that's going to be a really important decision we have to make. As far as AI, I love AI has a something to eliminate bottlenecks. It just keeps it moving.
Hmm.
But what I see every time I have AI try to name something, I view AI because it's a large language model has like just the perfect player of word association.
Sure.
And because of that, that's kind of its faults too. It'll just word associate shit it doesn't know sometimes and just make up something based on
Hallucinate.
how language work. Yeah, it'll just make up something based on how words work and hey, these words make sense.
Yeah.
But every time I try to go to it for naming, it's very first grade. Like, okay, these are ideas, but
Yeah.
it's lacking that ingenuity. It's missing the something of where like something could be new. Everything
For
it
sure.
gives you
Mm.
is something that's been seen before, or word combinations that just make sense, but are not like they're not sexy, don't pop out. Um, but I think as far as like you sitting down with a piece of paper saying, all right, what can we name this company? And you come up with 100 things, I think AI can knock that list out for you already
Yeah.
in 5 seconds. And then you can go, okay, it's not any of these. What's on the next 100? And then you can just have it spit out a million ideas until eventually you find the ingenuity or the spark in there.
And a lot of times I find like it's interesting to find what you want by what you don't want. So even
Yeah.
that is super helpful to me. Like sometimes I don't know what I want. I don't know, but I know what I don't want. So that kind of helps it weigh it down. Also, the positioning book is from the 1980s. It was originally published in 1980. So still dated, but still really interesting. But some of like the companies like that they mentioned don't even exist anymore. I'm
Oh
like,
yeah.
that's great. That's great.
Yahoo.
No, they're going even older than that. They're like,
Ask Jeeves.
yeah, dude,
Yeah, what are
like
some
they're talking about like Chemical Bank out of New York, and I'm like, oh wow, I remember that from a
okay.
Seinfeld episode. I don't even think it exists anymore.
Hmm.
Yeah, but the
Okay.
principles probably still ring true even,
Oh
in the
yeah,
80s or even today. The platform and the media which we consume it might be different, but
it's
like how
interesting to
they
see.
approach branding and how they approach
Yeah,
the consumer is probably very similar.
to your point, it's really interesting how like times have changed, but things maybe don't. Like they like when that book was written, the internet wasn't even a thing. So their biggest like the new thing was like TV and radio, right? So that's like the disruptive technology. But yeah, to your point, like disruptive technology happens, and you kind of figure out what to do and go next, but the principles are still the same, even though the technology or the medium of getting to your customer changes. But like essentially like the basic principles are very, very similar now. But it's interesting, like it's fun reading stuff that's like pre-internet, post-internet, and I'm sure
Yeah.
people will feel that way like in our like 30 year in the future. Like, wow, they wrote this book in 2025. They didn't know what the fuck they were thinking about with AI. Like now there are overlords or something like that. They were using it
Yeah.
to get names for a company, and now we're like bowing to them or something. I don't know.
T- Um, so that's catching up on last episode. Let's talk about this week's objective. It was to create a business plan.
Yes, sir.
The plan with everyone, being busy and us having day jobs and lives was, all right, guys, let's all think of our business plans independently. but then come together and align on what we all said. And for the most part, we weren't too far off from what, from one another. And then what we kind of did again to kind of cut out the middleman, the bottleneck was use AI to just make a cohesive business plan based off of everything we said in each section.
Yep.
And so we came up with one cohesive one. And then, as you should with AI, we used it to do the work, but then we guided the information from there. We kind of proofread it, we double checked it. We would look at each box and said like, all right, do we agree with this? Is there any other way we want to word it? Is something missing?
Yep.
Something should something be deleted? And so we kind of looked at it and cleaned it up. So we have that business plan. And then one of the things I did on purpose was, even though we were working independently on it, I
Mhm.
did leave it in a shared folder where we can all kind of check on each other's
Yeah.
progress. Did y'all take a peek at the other person's stuff to kind of see if you were on the right track or way off?
I
What about
definitely
you,
did.
Julian?
Yeah, no, I definitely did. Just to get an idea, get some inspiration and also make sure we're kind of aligned on what we were thinking.
Yeah, I kind of did the same. I took like a first take 10 minutes to like think about it myself. And then I did naturally. It's funny, you're doing like thought experiments on us without us even knowing. Because I went into there eventually and I was like poking around, like, oh, okay, like let's see what's going on over here. It's like, oh,
Yeah.
okay. Yeah, all right, got it, got it, got it. But I tried not to. I took an effort to not do it and not use AI at first and then get my ideas at least like high level and then like go and kind of refine it a little bit more. It took longer than I thought it was going to actually, which was interesting. But yeah, I definitely like poked around and was like, oh, okay, cool.
Yeah, and the what is it, the minimum viable business plan template that
Yep.
we used? Is it just a short little experiment or exercise? And it's missing a lot of the parts that a well fleshed out business plan will have, like go to market strategy, pricing, that kind of stuff. But it has the nuts and bolts of, just like y'all kind of said earlier, like a North Star, just kind of like, where are we
Yeah.
going? What is this? And so let's go over that real quick. Roger, can
Sure.
you throw it on the screen?
Yeah, yeah. 1 second. Put it up and get my screen share going. Yeah, and what I like about it, to your point, is like it's snackable, and I think that's like a new like term, I guess, in terms of like it's approachable. It's not like you're not looking at like a 20-page business plan, which is probably, not probably, was where you go to, but this one like gives you that first like something that's like I can do this. Almost like, giving you those bite-sized steps to kind of build up the top. And sorry, I have Rush Hour 4 because Julian said he was into comedy and action. So I didn't know if he knew about Rush
Classic.
Hour 4 coming up. Like
I didn't
he
know
said,
about
it
four
looks
coming
like
up, but Rush Hour
well,
1 and 2, that was my childhood right there.
oh
So
dude, yeah.
Oh,
Understand the word?
your
Oh dude, so good, so good. But yeah, Rush Hour
your
4, I just
childhood,
saw
that was
that.
my prom night.
Yeah. I'm excited. I'm excited. Anyway, sorry, that was just something I had up there. But yeah, all
So
right.
no, that's great. So what we can do is, obviously, I'm not a big word for word reader because I'm illiterate. But what we can do is each one of us just kind of do a gist of it. Like what's the main takeaway for each box? So again, in the pitch box, I mean, the main takeaway is this is to kind of standardize all different workouts, and leverage the community aspect to, for visibility. I could see Rogers doing a swim and it was a 10 on the ranking scale
Yep.
and he burned XYZ calories. And then I did my, regular weight workout
Yep.
with free weights, and mine was a 7. And I was like, wow, he kicked my ass on a swim. Like, I need to step it up, or whatever. And either way, after every workout, it gets logged, in the feed, and everyone can see everyone, and we can talk about it, or we can invite ourselves, or we can invite someone to our workout, or that's kind of the whole point. It's community, it's data, and it's engagement, and it's just another excuse to work out and be collaborative, and just have fun while being healthy.
Yeah, definitely. I think, to add to that, like a way to blend like kind of like the virtual and in person, right? Like as we're doing this exercise, I'm like downloading more fitness apps and stuff like that. Just slowly going down. I think I'm only at like, I don't know, like 7 or 8 at this point, but I do see like gaps in there that's like, oh, this is not. And then I'm taking notes as we're going through. I'm like taking notes of the good, the bad, the ugly, and hopefully y'all are kind of maybe doing the same every once in a while. But even like the Apple Fitness, like it's not really like there's a community tab, but like it's not really built for that. So I think like building this being community first can be a really interesting approach, because I think a lot of fitness apps that I've seen, it has a communal aspect, but it makes it really hard to get to that level. Like one of them, the gym rats app that I sent you, what, when I was in Chi-Town, like I sent it to you exactly right away. Like as soon as I heard about it, I was like, ooh, check this out. One thing that it gates you from even getting to the community until you pay them. And I'm like, wow, like that's your value proposition. That's what's gonna get me
Right.
going, but you're gating it behind a paywall. Like
It
and
it
a
makes
paywall that you can't even do a free trial or anything. Like that's a horrible. That's what you're
Yeah.
for, and you're gating it behind me paying. I'm not gonna pay you until I see the value. So
Right.
I think there's a really interesting niche in this market that we can really attack by being that communal community fitness that still brings that kind of like challenging aspect of it, while in that kind of blending, the virtual community with the in-person community, right? Like some can be meetup events, some can be virtual meetup events, and still finding a way to kind of normalize the data across those, which also is not something that's easy to do, right? I can't go to these apps and go like, hey, how many calories did I burn? I have to do that manually. In our, quick shout out to our YouTube, I posted a quick video of our workout, and I had to do that manual calculation of how many calories I burned. Turns out we didn't burn that many calories. I think we drank more calories than we burned. But hey, we're going in the right direction, I hope.
Hey,
But
sweat is
yeah,
sweat.
it was when I did the math, it was and did the comparison, it was like a small fry from McDonald's or like a small chicken nuggets from Chick-fil-A. And I was like, damn, like that's I can like crush fries. Like that's not a
Yeah.
problem.
But that's the fun part. Even though calories is one thing and it's a metric we can standardize across anything. My ass was kicked. So I mean, that's a
Oh, I
10 for
was
me,
gassed, dude.
you know. And maybe there's a function where we can rate our exercise. We think it's a 10. We think it was a 5 of a workout, personally based on my effort, but hey, cardio wise and calorie wise it was a 10. So maybe there's something there. And then to speak to the paywall function, I think there's smarter ways to do that. Like maybe
Oh, for sure.
you get to do or start one group for free every month, and there's like a limit to it. And
Yeah.
then so you get to experience the core, value proposition, but then it's not like where you can just run rampant with it and use all of its features. Like maybe there's some kind of like flow to it, and maybe once a month you get access to one, or it gives you coins and you have to spend the coins,
Yeah, for
on
sure.
how you go from there.
I want to be able to
Um,
just jump in the app and go to an LFG group in my area. That's what I want
yeah,
to
that
do
should be
to
free.
compete. That is your value
Start a
proposition.
Absolutely.
That should be free. It should be easy to get there.
Starting a
If you want to
group should be
monetize them
free.
later, great.
Yeah,
But like, let me
yeah.
get that because that's what the app is for. That's where I'm seeing the value. People are not going to give you money until they see that value. And gating it behind a paywall is the dumbest thing I've ever heard of. But
Yeah,
anyways, it's a
that's
great app
definitely a
otherwise.
barrier. Like if you don't know how many people are in that community before you pay into it, like what do you do? Like what
What
if
am I
you
doing?
pay and then there's like nobody in there? Like,
Hmm.
well, I just paid for nothing. So
Exactly.
yeah, definitely limitation.
Exactly, exactly. So all that's to say, like the due diligence I do, the more I'm like, oh wow, like this is like a interesting niche that like no one's really like attacking. Like I said, even Apple isn't doing it great. They're doing it to say they did it, but they're not like it's like I accepted an invite from Ed on Apple Fitness, and like I can't see him. I can't challenge him. I can't do anything with him. I can't add my workouts on there easily. So yeah, I think there's a very interesting perspective there. Now, if other people think it's interesting is the thing, I guess, right?
Right.
We also talked about target market.
Yep.
Julian, what's kind of a key takeaway about our target market?
Yeah, so I guess I was thinking of it initially, we're all based in Houston, so targeting Houston market first, and then kind of segmenting it down to anywhere between 18 and 50 years old. I think you know, wanting to keep that young adult to phase is probably A, the most active people, and then B, the most likely to actually use an app too.
Yep.
After you get over 50, they may be active, but they may not necessarily be using the fitness tracking apps and the community aspect. So kind of targeting that demographic. Anywhere with the kind of, yeah, to the moderate to high income as well.
Yep.
Thinking anyone who's kind of single, socially motivated, to kind of build that community aspect as well, so that you want somebody who, oh, I want a workout buddy, I want somebody to go around with, I want someone who is kind of more socially active as well, and really anyone, all skill levels. So if you're just starting out or if you're a seasoned pro, really anybody who's into fitness in any skill level would be kind of our market there.
What I love about
And I
that
remember
is,
we
and it's one thing that they talk about the positioning book, like being everything to everyone, you're not going to be anything to anyone, right? So I think that like, even though this seems like it's very like drilled down into a very specific community, like we're hyper targeted into Houston, Texas, and we can even go further down, right? Like Houston, Texas, Edo Heights, whatever. But I think that it's really it excites me like that we know who we want to be. And I think that that's going to help us really make something that's specific to what these people need, versus trying to build something that everyone wants from the gate, right? Let's get niche, let's get this community, let's really
Mhm.
figure out who they are, and then we can expand from there. But at least having a foothold in a niche community can be a really powerful way to build that community up for sure. I'm excited.
We're under
Exactly.
5 minutes, and I just want to say that the fun part about the target market with this idea is that even if this is our target market, within the app, you can make a community that's maybe more loners
Sure.
who are unemployed if you wanted to.
Yep.
You could make whatever target market you want for your club, because at the end of the day, we're letting the users start their own communities within the app. So that's where it kind of opens up to everybody. Roger, take us through the value props. I know you kind of
Yeah.
talked about a lot of the features already, but what else?
Yeah, I think that like for value proposition, like we would definitely want to be like AI first and maybe, AI in terms of like using it to build our app, build the company, but also using it within our app and within our company. And I think, AI is a buzzword for sure, but I still think that it's an interesting area to kind of check and build out. Like we were looking at earlier, like we can build apps, MVPs, prototypes using apps like Replit. Like I just did the whole course this weekend. It was really fun, it was really short and attainable. But also like people are building some really fun apps like vibe coding, and again, are they the whole fleshed out, beautiful apps that you see like on your phone? Maybe not, but also it gives us founders that are non-technical an area to kind of get that MVP, get people into it. So I definitely want to see that as a value proposition. But I do think that like the social group aspect is going to be great, blending, the virtual and like, again, like the more I get into these competitor apps, the more I think that there's a niche there because they really aren't blending in person and virtual. They're kind of like aligning to one or the other. So like having kind of like an interesting area in the middle can be very fun. Gamifying fitness. One book that I really love and I promote to everyone is called Hooked. I don't know if you could see it. Can I do the thing where you hold the book up? Anyways, it's about
It's
how these.
it
It's
look it
about
looks like a banned book.
yeah, it should be because it's about building habits, and it's about how
Yeah.
these companies like Meta and Twitter and everything are building habits internally that we're not realizing. When I'm bored, I pull out my phone and look. I had to actually not down. I took Twitter off of my phone. I just can't have it anymore. But because when I was bored, I would just pull it up, and then go, and that was my go-to to like go and fulfill my boredom, right? And so that's what these apps are great at doing. I want to use those powers for good though, in terms of like building those habit formations, but for your fitness, your health, your wellness. So I think that can be an interesting gamification. Branding and location-based incentives, really targeting and tapping into these small local businesses. I love Main Street businesses. That's the thing that's my jam. I love small mom and pop shops. I love places that have less than five locations. So I think that really like trying to incorporate them into our app is going to be really fun. And all skill levels and body types, right? What I said, you said, I know we were talking about an app in our group Slack was about like, I was like, oh wow, this is the app. Like, this is amazing. But looking into it, it's really for these hardcore athletes. It's for these like D1 to D3 athletes that are multi, a sport, but maybe that's not for us. That's not for our group. So being more inclusive of people that are on every stage of the health and wellness journey can make it more approachable. So I think those are probably really interesting value propositions that we bring into the game.
As far as competitive advantage and our marketing funnel, we're going to post a link in today's episode and episode two's bio on Spotify, and y'all can follow along and read this
For
and,
sure.
and and do that for yourself. But as far as the competitive advantage, I think it's going to be fun in the following weeks to kind of just download a bunch of competitors. It's a bunch of things that kind of pop up when we
Yep.
search this, and just see what they're missing, what gaps
Ooh,
they have. So, I mean, you already started. I mean, I think it's been really fun. We grabbed 3, 4 apps each and just kind of see what's going on, see how they work. And then as far as our marketing funnel, real basic funnel, but we're multi-angular, multi-approach. We're doing everything under the sun, all the standard stuff we got to do.
build with the
Else,
boys.
there's yeah, we got a whole companion podcast. It's gonna be really fun, guys. So, episode 2 in the books. Next week, what is next week? We are going to do what? The goal for next week is
Ooh,
loading, loading,
exclusive
loading.
exclusive beta access. That just sounds
Sneak
cool.
peek.
Like
There you go.
exclusive
Oh,
beta
next week,
access.
next week we're
Everyone
gonna get
wants
into the
that.
brand. We're gonna get into the branding of it. We're gonna settle on a name and t-shirts, website, everything we need to be able to spread the word and have that digital foot traffic.
Everyone go check out Building with the Boys on YouTube. We gotta get more videos posted on there. We gotta do it.
Yep.
Our one of our videos is like 500 views already, and that was just like a quick like 30,
Wow.
like it took like 5 minutes to make or whatever.